Okay, hello to everyone. My name's David. I wanted to kind of demonstrate a little bit about how to improve or facilitate a continuous buzz on a trumpet or any brass instrument. I know I struggled as growing up and learning the trumpet, and I was just kind of handed the instrument, told you know make a buzzing sound in the mouthpiece, but never until recently, after maybe 35 years, began to experiment and maybe improve how to facilitate a buzz and keep it going. Because if you can't if you can't maintain a buzz, it's really difficult to play and to learn a piece of music and to improve. Um, this is a standard 7C we probably all learned on. I don't know why the dog's barking. So what I've done, or what I attempted to do, kind of by accident, was I purchased a plastic mouthpiece as I was having trouble. I think I've probably purchased within reason, every mouthpiece on the market, just to kind of try to improve myself. As you get older and you're doing the same thing and you're not really improving dramatically, then it's kind of discouraging. So I went to plastic because I was having trouble with my lip swelling and pain and range and just endurance and all those things we struggle with. So after a while, just even the plastic didn't help. It didn't really have. I mean, it's a mellower tone, but it wasn't the tone of brass like we're used to. Even though I still enjoy playing on it. Um, but what it eventually ended up happening was I started to modify the mouthpiece to see if I could make improvements on it. Let's see what we're about 3 minutes in. Okay. So what was easy about this being plastic was I could take a razor, and it was kind of a trial and error process where, hey, if I do this, I do that, what will make this rim more comfortable? Which, if you think about it, with a mouthpiece, it's just kind of there's lots of different contours, but it's just kind of a hard, flat surface. If you're amateur, your lips, top and bottom, aren't just genetically modified to fit this rim, if you're not fortunate enough to be born with that ability, then you really end up just struggling with it all your life, trying to, every mouthpiece available, trying to find something that'll work for you. So I don't know exactly what the first thing I did, but I went through a series of experiments on these mouthpieces um, to make improvements, tested them. For me personally, for you, you may not need to modify much. Maybe it works for you and you don't need to do anything with your mouthpiece, but I found a significant improvement in making some changes. And I do have a metal one that I've prototype that I've developed from working with these plastic mouthpieces, and it's a significant improvement now over endurance, range, fullness, low, high, flexibility. Just it's really been kind of exciting, and that's why I wanted to share it with everybody. So think because these particular mouthpieces, because I knew of what diameter and rim and all that I liked, I kind of started with one that I liked the most, but maybe that felt a little too small. As your lip swells, it feels like, this thing's becoming more and more constrictive. You just can't maintain freedom and buzz, as you're trying to endure through a piece of music. But one thing I did to this particular one, and I've got several here, um, was I cut an angle off the bottom. It's just a straight, flat plane. Maybe you can see it. So what this does, this is the 6 o'clock position on my bottom lip, as I have some extra fleshy lip that doesn't need to really get into the buzzing action here, and so when I cut that away, it become much more comfortable. Didn't feel as restrictive or confined. Um, the other thing I did to the 12 o'clock position or top is I cut a notch, a groove through, all the way through the rim on the top, kind of smoothed it out. Just to give you an example, you can just whittle away on this thing and get it. And again, it's a trial and error. My thinking, my philosophy with this one was, so I have a little bit of overlap with my teeth, and some sharp. If I pressed hard or a lot on a regular rim, it really cut the circulation off. My lip would swell, and then I eventually couldn't play anything. So one thought was, if I cut this reliever out in here, it'll allow my lip to continue to buzz. I still have contact up here, and then blood flow is across the lip and both vertical. So even while you're playing and maintaining a buzz, you get a little additional blood flow vertically. And it's, again, trial and error. I just kind of notched it different depths, different widths, to try to see what made the best or most improvement. Another thing I did is cut some sides away and make it feel a little less restrictive, because when you have these big wide rims, it just feels like your mouth's on a brick instead of a mouthpiece sometimes. So I didn't do that to this one. Here's an example of one where I kind of took off the sides. The same 6 o'clock position is flat. You can change these angles to your liking, whatever feels best and comfortable. And also similar notch or groove at the 12 o'clock position. I also put weights on them just to because they're so light, to give them more focus. Seems to improve the tone. This one, I actually came into where you would normally have a bite around the rim, and I actually expanded this one from the inside out. So it's got a lot of freedom in range, up and down, and then when you press, you can improve on the upper range. When you release, you get a real full open low tone. It was always hard to find a mouthpiece that would play low and high well at the same time. These seem to facilitate that ability and be a good improvement on. And I would, I recommend whatever works. Technique's most important, and you need to always go back to if you go back to the fundamental. I remember we all probably started on 7C, and then there was a 5C, and then there was a 3C, and a 3C is all I had in high school, and I thought that was the greatest thing, but it still had so many limitations just because of the way my face structure and my lips, and you'd be playing and all of a sudden you'd lose notes. It's very frustrating to learn to get any better if you're always losing notes. So eventually, I had a friend of mine. I gave him this prototype. He had his shop guy kind of modify one of my favorite mouthpieces here. Again, it's going to be whatever works for you to begin with, whatever's most comfortable, and then maybe you want to modify. Maybe it's get one that's a little smaller than you like, and then I would still recommend whatever's your favorite. And obviously, these are what, $30. These are 120 or more, or whatever, depending on how much you want to risk. That's why I worked with the plastic to get them like I wanted them. But same thing here, 6 o'clock position. Took off considerable amount of the. I stayed away from the cup, but I came off of the rim at a, I don't know, pretty sharp angle, maybe even steeper than 45. Did the same thing on the top of the relief route. This one now, those cuts were made for me just based on, you may be able to do them yourself if you have the equipment. I have some little files. So this mouthpiece again feels a little tight and a little restrictive. I'm actually missing the file that I use most. Here's not here. Oh, here it is. Okay, so it's got a little bit of curvature on it. It's flat on one side, curved on the other. Very easy to control. And what I did was, because this inside bite felt so tight and restrictive, that I've actually just doing this, filed it away. Try to get close and see that you can see it's filed away. Opening it up, it's kind of a variable rim, so if you're lightly contacting, you're out on the surface. If you give it a little pressure, your lip, instead of that drop in the bite, it's contacting the slope to a variable degree, depending on how much you want to dig in there with your lips. But again, this relief route seems to really help because of the overlap in my teeth and the gap. I was always getting just a sore impression in my between my teeth. I don't recommend you do this, but this is stainless steel, low grit dental tool that you can use. If I had chipped one of my front teeth and it was cutting into my gum, I think the dentist, he did a little work on it to smooth it out. I got this and smoothed it out quite a bit more. I did that by trial and error, playing on the mouthpiece, seeing if it was cutting in, how it was cutting into my lip. Obviously, you don't want to damage the enamel on your teeth, so this is kind of proceed at your own risk. But that was a big improvement on how my lip was getting cut on my teeth as I was playing. And so proper technique is obviously fundamental. Your airstream, there's a million videos out there on how to do it right, how to play right, how to play high. This variable rim, this relief route, and this angle on the bottom really helped me focus in on maintaining a buzz all over the register, low, high. Um, it really it really allows you to grip well. I probably eventually gonna have to have it refinished because it's raw brass here where it's been cut. But I just wanted to get that out there and let everybody know that it's a potential. If you struggle, if you can't buzz, if you're losing notes, it doesn't matter how much you practice. If you can't buzz, there's no way you're gonna improve. So, so maybe doing a little experiment, doing some modifications, observing your teeth and your your upper lip, maybe differences, offsets, bites, overbites. That's all I did was I got these things, and I got a bunch of them, and I got a bunch that are in the trash too, where I just said, oh, I'm gonna keep cutting, keep whittling, keep seeing what's happening. Sometimes they'd get out of control, and they weren't worth keeping. Um, so it's kind of a fun science experiment. If you make a change and all of a sudden, wow, your buzz is consistent and it's steady and your range or something's improved, then let me know how it helped you. Um, so here's another tool, another trick, another thing I did after I kind of modified this inner edge of the rim here. It leaves it a little rough, and then these are handy, or you can use anything. But I just, my hand's in the way, so you can't see it. But after I got it like I wanted it, tested it, thought I should maybe stop right where I was if I think I got the best results. And then I put a lot of pressure on this just to kind of smooth it off. Brass is kind of easy to work with. So once I got it smooth, I would go ahead and test it again, see if I liked it. Um, I'm not seen, I've seen some asymmetrics and I've seen some ovals, but I've never seen anybody actually do this to a mouthpiece to improve its response, endurance, range. It almost makes it more manageable comfort wise. You can kind of control whether you want to go a wide full open tone. You can of course, the further you go out, if you get too far, you might not like it as much. But if your lips swell and you got additional room to spare in here, what I was just amazed about is I used to go high, my lip would swell, my circulation would cut off, my gum would, or my back inside of my lip would get cut, and then even when I came down into the staff, I